Now, the video game industry is a ruthless business. Console wars, the original feud between Sega and Nintendo, and other game studios have been beefing with each other since the dawn of virtual entertainment, and sometimes these fights expand into the games that they produce as well. And that's what we're here to talk about today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 ruthless video game Easter eggs that roast the competition. Number 10, Roach Kingdom Come Deliverance. Kingdom Come Deliverance is an RPG set inside historical Bohemia, so naturally it's going to feature some references to the country's neighbours, the Polish. However, one of them is secretly more of a reference to the Polish game studio CD Projekt Red, or rather a dig at one of their most successful franchises. You see, one of the mounts you can buy off Johann, the horse trader, is named Roach, a clear reference to Big G's horse in The Witcher 3. At first, this seems like an innocent little Easter egg, but when you ask him about it, he'll say that he got Roach from an odd Polish fellow after he settled down with his wife and got worried that his spouse might make him stuff his favourite steed. Although this chain of events may not make immediate sense, this is actually another reference to The Witcher 3 and its famous sex scene with Yennefer on top of a stuffed unicorn. Johann makes this much more obvious when he calls the Poles a perverse lot. His words, not mine. Well, it's a severe understatement indeed if that is the case. It takes a real character to use a stuffed body of a mythical creature as a prop for their bedroom escapades. Number 9, Special Ops Douchebags. Battlefield Bad Company 2. Now, Bad Company 2 is an FPS that, at the time of its release, had the not-so-great pleasure of sharing the same market with the titan of shooter games, Call of Duty. Since competing with the king on equal grounds wasn't really an option, the developers of Bad Company 2 resorted to the second best thing you can do in this situation, and that is roasting the crap out of its main protagonists. The game includes 2 references to the Call of Duty Black Ops series, and both of them make fun of it in a really spiteful way. The first Easter egg is a conversation between the main characters where they complain about Special Ops douchebags with heart monitors attached to their guns. The reference is very directly talking about the protagonists of Black Ops while making fun of their peculiar weaponry. The second Easter egg happens during a chase sequence on quad bikes. The characters mention a snowmobile race before saying that snowmobiles are for sissies, making a crude reference to the famous snowmobile escape sequence from Modern Warfare 2. The roasts are simple and very juvenile, but at the same time, this kind of direct diss wasn't common, and definitely not to this kind of viciously nasty extent. Number 8, Leon Kennedy and Chris Redfield, Dying Light 2. Now, Dying Light 2 features a reference to one of the most iconic zombie series in gaming, Resident Evil, but it certainly isn't there to pay homage to its senior, but instead is trying to point and laugh at its protagonists. In one of the game's missions, you have to find 2 missing members of the legendary Unit 404. As soon as you find the first missing soldier, you can notice his characteristic bad boy haircut alongside the dog tags with the name Leon Kennedy. The resemblance to everyone's favourite federal agent is uncanny, except that Leon isn't saving the president's daughter this time, but rather bleeding to death. Before he passes, he tells you where to find his other cameo friend, Chris Redfield. Similarly to Leon, the Dying Light Chris isn't a very heroic person, because when you do get to him, Chris is already dead and turned into a mindless zombie. The Easter egg is clearly designed to mock the Resident Evil protagonists, showing that their feats of superhuman prowess probably wouldn't work so well in a more realistic scenario. Oh well, it seems like the Redfield bloodline ends with Chris after all. Number 7, Fallout Doesn't Let You Do This. High on Life. High on Life is quite the large-mouthed game. It's always cracking jokes and bombarding you with meta commentary, so it only makes sense that it would divert some of that snarky fourth-wall breaking energy into roasting other games. Indeed, High on Life features several Easter eggs dissing the video game industry, most notably an achievement that directly calls out the Fallout series. Fallout Doesn't Let You Do This is a reward that you receive for killing an alien child that is standing in your way. The name is a reference to the fact that in Fallout and other Bethesda games, you cannot kill children because they are programmed to be immortal. Actually, technically that's not true. I know that this is going off script a little bit here, but Fallout 2 actually does let you strap a bomb to a kid and then send him off to his dad and he blows them both off, so yeah, take that, High on Life. Get your credentials up, mate. The game is very proud of the fact that it does this, and when Fallout doesn't. But to be honest, you can't really blame it for being so brash about it, because you only have to look at all of the Fallout and Skyrim mods that make it so that players can harm children to realise how much people want to give them their comeuppance. Yeah, it's a really weird thing, that. Don't blame the game, blame the people who made the other people consider killing minors by writing them to be the most annoying creatures on the planet. Number 6, Sam and Gabe, Metal Gear Solid 3. Metal Gear Solid 3 throws shade at its competition in what is probably the most elaborate method on this list. The reference to rival games happens within another reference to another franchise, making it feel like some sort of video game inception. One of the secret missions in Metal Gear Solid 3 is an Easter egg featuring the monkeys from Ape Escape. Snake gets a call from the Colonel, who asks him to catch catch the cartoonish rascals before they can cause more trouble, and this is where the secret agent decides to breach the barrier between video games one more time, but in a more snarky fashion. In response to the Colonel's orders, Snake tells him that perhaps other secret agents like Sam and Gabe would be better suited for this important task of chasing monkeys around. The names are a reference to the protagonists of other spy thriller games, Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell and Gabe Logan from Siphon Filter. Snake brings them up in the context of Ape Escape to poke fun at them and say that they're less serious protagonists who could probably do better things like catch cartoon apes. Very brave words from somebody who, does espionage in cardboard boxes. Number 5, DLC, The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 takes disseminating its competition to a whole new level because instead of targeting just one or two video games, it takes on the entire gaming industry. In the Blood and Wine DLC, in one of the early main missions, Big G investigates a riverside where somebody went missing. Using his Witcher sense, you need to search the river for clues, and one of the items you can find up in the process is an embroidered handkerchief with the letters DLC written on it. When you pick up this piece of cloth, Big G will remark how DLC definitely has to belong to a nobleman because it looks very expensive for something so small. This small comment may not sound like much at first, but it is an obvious dig at the practice of releasing overpriced DLCs with little to no content. The Witcher 3, with 2 excellent and affordable DLCs, is basically flexing to the rest of the industry that it's way better than them while simultaneously laughing at the others for their corporate greed. Seeing how the market is these days though, well, that shade actually seems pretty deserved. Number 4, a dig at platformers. You Only Live Once. You Only Live Once is an old Newgrounds Flash game whose sole purpose for existence is to be a playable roast of the original Mario Brothers. The game is one giant reference to the classic platformer, from the design of the enemies and levels to the story of the game being that the protagonist's main squeeze has been kidnapped by a giant castle-dwelling monster. The game plays exactly like Mario as well, except every time you do something gameplay related, the game makes a joke about how ridiculous it is. For example, when you squash the game's equivalent of a Goomba, you get a cutscene showing your character getting arrested for murder. If you die to an enemy, the game doesn't just fade to black, but shows you pathetically falling on the floor, being escorted into an ambulance, and then being lowered into your grave during a somber funeral. Every single moment in the game is a cheeky reference at the ridiculousness of all the classic platformer tropes established by the likes of Mario, and it makes you realise just how surreal the world of the Italian plumber actually is. Number 3, Lara's phone call. Duke Nukem, Time to Kill. Before Duke Nukem became the laughingstock of the video game industry thanks to its botched return in Duke Nukem Forever, the King was definitely one of the biggest bullies in gaming. The games would frequently make fun of other FPS titles like Doom by showing their protagonists dead or simply insulting them. However, Duke Nukem also took it upon himself to berate protagonists outside of his genre, and one of his most frequent targets was Lara Croft. The Duke Nukem games featured several mean references to the globe-trotting treasure hunter, going all the way back to Duke Nukem Advance. In the game's tomb level, Duke remarks that he's not a tomb-raiding switch flipper, roasting Lara's own adventures in her games, and the references just kept on getting meaner from that point on. In Duke Nukem Time to Kill, the action hero finds Lara's suit in a strip club and talks about how skanky it is, and later on, he receives a phone call from a moaning woman, which he refers to as Lara. You know, with so many jokes and innuendos to the intrepid archaeologist, somebody would actually think that Duke has a thing for her, rather than the other way around. Number 2, Master Chief's helmet and other pieces of video game headwear. Duke Nukem Forever. Right, so we've seen how ruthless Duke Nukem was back in his glory days, but the truth is, even during his catastrophic return in Duke Nukem Forever, the King, well, he'd lost an edge, but maybe not as many steps as we thought. Although the game is an abject disaster, it still manages to throw some punches at its competition with some serious tooth to them. The title features several references to other famous franchises. For example, Duke can come across an armored army van in Vegas, and in the back of it, there's a familiar-looking piece of armor belonging to none other than the Master Chief from Halo. Upon finding the helmet, Duke will scoff at it, saying that he's too manly to be parading in power armor. There's also other Easter eggs in the game related to headgear-wearing characters, one including the decapitated Isaac Clarke from Dead Space and another, the drowned Psycho from Borderlands. Each reference is not only demeaning other famous franchises by killing their characters off in a variety of embarrassing scenarios, but it's oddly thematic, as each Easter egg includes the headwear of the character they're parodying, although nobody probably told Duke that they were much better games than the one he's in. And number 1, Twofaced Tanner, Grand Theft Auto 3. In the time when Grand Theft Auto 3 was just hitting the shelves, the rivalry between GTA and the Driver series was at an all-time high. Since both of these titles put great emphasis on driving, they were pitted against each other as contending for the title of the best car-centric crime sim in the business. For this reason, the developers developers of both games decided to settle their differences within their respective projects and included plenty of mean-spirited references to their rival. Driver 3, or Drive 3, included a mock version of Vice City's protagonist Tommy Vercetti called Timmy Vermicelli, who acted as a recurring villain. However, Rockstar was actually the first to throw the stone, as they did so in quite the messed up way. The third GTA game features a mission where you have to kill a pathetic undercover cop called Twofaced Tanner. Both the name and the profession are an obvious reference to the protagonist of the Driver series. What makes the appearance truly devastating isn't that the game makes you kill Tanner, but that Rockstar deliberately programmed him to not fight and used a strange run animation to make fun of the odd movement of the character in the original game. Now that is just brutal. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 Ruthless video game Easter eggs that roast the competition. I hope you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Blue Sky, where it's at RetroJ, but the O is a 0. Hope to see you over there. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.